Hi, and welcome to The Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. I am your host, Blaine Bartlett, and we've got an interesting guest on the show today, a fellow that I've known for a while. He's a member of an organization that I'm a member of as well. It's the Transformational Leadership Council. And I mention that because it's a pretty eclectic and elite group of thought leaders that are doing some very interesting things on the planet today. Colin Sprake is now he calls himself a heart-centered business Sherpa. He's an author, he's a speaker, he's a trainer. And really interestingly, and this is partly why I've got him on the show today, he's the creator of the ultimate business success system. And you look at the tagline and there's a ... with soul. And it's that with soul piece that I think was really compelling, and it's something that he's actually built an incredible business around. So it's spot on that Colin is with us today, particularly given a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world today. So Colin, welcome.
It's my pleasure to be here, Blaine, and just to support you and serve the listeners. I know there's a lot of people listening out there that from today's show and from all the shows you've done have got the nuggets they need to move themselves to that next level. And if there's anything that's been, I think, soul searching, soul wrenching, soul percolating is the last 5-6 months of what's happened during the this pandemic situation. And I think it's going to change business forever.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely is. And, one of the things that I'm really, and it's almost an oxymoron in one sense here, or not, it's a paradox, I guess. I'm really excited about where we're at in the world today for businesses. Yeah, even though there's a lot of pain on one side, if you look at the spectrum, there is an incredible amount of opportunity on the other. And part of that opportunity is how do we go about doing business in a different way that is more generative and healthier for everybody that's touched by it. I mean, and that's really kind of the mission that I'm about is, having business be a source of good and uplift on the planet, which is, where for me, the soul of business comes in. Now, you've got an organization that's Make Your Mark Training and Consulting, and you founded it back in 2004. You're doing some fascinating things with entrepreneurs right now. And if I remember right, you've got almost 50,000 entrepreneurs in your community, in the ecosphere in which you actually operate here. And these are entrepreneurs. These are folks that are actually running businesses, making money, making a profit. We're going to talk about profit here in just a bit. But they're making a difference, more importantly. They're making a difference. So I want to just kind of open the field here. A couple of things. First of all, I ask this question of everybody that comes on the show. When you hear the soul of business, what does that bring up for you? And particularly given your work, I'm going to be very interested in hearing your answer on this.
Yeah, I think that the most important part for me is when people tell me the soul of business, man, it's in our own tagline, business with soul. And it really is about doing things that are right for your fellow man, for the planet, for yourself, for your community. For me, it's business with soul it's just doing what's right, and our hearts know what's right. The core essence of who we are. Like I look at our gut and our hearts as a thought center. This is not our thoughts, our truth center. And this center of us knows our truth, Blaine, and our heart and gut knows the truth. And we go so much against it some of the time. We're like, why did I go against my gut? I mean, they've done studies on this, Blaine. The human brain has about 100 billion neurons in it. They've done a cross-section through the gut and through the gut wall, and they found that the gut has about 100 million neurons, of which 21 are identical in type to what you find in the human brain. So our gut is a thought center, and so is they did work later on around through the heart tissue as well, and found the heart was even more pronounced. Therefore, this is your truth center. Your gut and your heart combined are your truth center. We need to listen to more, even as business owners. I believe you can be a business owner. I joked with you before, and I hope you don't mind me saying this on the show, but there's two kinds of business owners. Either a business owner, a business with soul, or business with asshole. You choose what you want to be. Do you want to take advantage of people, take advantage of the planet, pump plastic into the oceans, do crazy things? But doing business with soul is doing what's right for the planet. And we know what's right. Sometimes though, we get clouded by profit. We get clouded by, different, mainly by profit, and we take advantage of people. We take advantage of our planet. You're like, one thing you don't know about me, Blaine, is I left the mining industry in 2004, in November 2004. And I never forget, I was CEO of this mining company, sold my shares in the company, and I was flying over into the Amazon jungle to go sell a whole bunch of equipment to this big consortium. And we're flying over, and I was just like, wow, imagine how they had dome lids on them. It's like these blue dome lids all over the jungle. It would be so cool. And then it just hit me, and like, this is where money is more important than our planet. And it was one of the deciding factors of why I left the industry. That day we landed the plane in the Amazon jungle, and I couldn't sell the equipment. I just said to myself, this is not right. These people have destroyed so much of the jungle already. And someone said to me, well, Colin, if it's not you, someone else is going to do it anyway. I said, I don't want to be responsible for it. That's what I think business with soul really is taking a responsibility for all the things we do in our business, for our planet, for our staff, for ourselves, for everything that happens. But most people, I think a lot of people don't care about that. I think the planet, I don't know, I believe that this pandemic has been good for the planet. I think God's got the planet by the ears and is shaking the crap out of it, saying, wake up, human beings, stop being human doings, be human beings, and let's just look at where things are going. Like, time for you to wake up. It woke me up immensely. So the whole business with soul is just being awake, being, doing what's right, serving our fellow man, like not taking advantage of anything, but looking how can I assist something to grow? How can I, do things in my company that will help the planet continue? How can I do things in my company that will help families be better families, more conscious parenting, more conscious in our relationships? So I do a lot of work with our team members within Make Your Mark on, I'll get them marriage counselors if they need them. I'll get them any kind of people they need to improve the situation in their personal lives, which really, of course, people can say, well, Colin, you still profit from it in the business. For sure, but at the same time, it's so cool to know that you're putting great people in touch with our employees to help them be better employees, but more so anything, be better in their relationship, be better in communication. We have communication specialists, we have relationship therapists that work with our team to make them better at home, and that's what I think has really happened for a lot of people. Sadly, a lot of people during this COVID situation have gone and got divorced because it's easier, because they've spent so much time together. I think this is one of the awakenings of the world. Yes, I know some people have lost a lot and lost loved ones. I've lost a couple of friends to COVID, and I didn't really lose them. They've just gone to a higher place. And, for me, it's really, I think everyone just should just wake up and see things differently. And, those that don't maybe have a soul in their business right now, or maybe started with a soul, are going back and thinking, wow, what am I doing? What can I do to make this planet a better place? And if they're not, I don't know what's going to take to wake them up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've touched on so many things here. I mean, first of all, it's easy for people to talk about do the right thing. And it's almost become just kind of a trite little toss away line. Just do the right thing. The example that you gave about, the blue domes, I can't sell this. I can't do this. That's doing the right thing. There's a notion about being a predator or being a steward. And, you talk about, being an asshole or or moving towards the soul. A predator, it's a zero-sum process. I mean, I'm taking, and there's this, what can I grab for myself? And if business leaders approach business, which I think is a sacred institution, I truly do think that business, because of how much impact it has, it truly needs to be seen as both a spiritual discipline, but also as a sacred undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm approaching it as a sacred undertaking, as a sacred avocation and vocation, I position myself as being a steward rather than a predator. I do things differently in the jungle than I do in the temple. And that's the behavioral dynamics. Doing the right thing is, what would I do in the temple? I would take care. I mean, I love what you, and I've known this about you and about Make Your Mark. the resources that you bring to the your entrepreneurial community. I mean, and you touched on some of it here. It's not just here's a P&L accounting platform that you can learn how to it's no, we build great organizations by building great people and by building great families. That's if that's the focus of what I'm doing as a business, I'm going to have a great business. I'm going to have people that are absolutely out of their mind, wildly fanatic about what I'm doing. And that's the power of soul, I think. And
Absolutely.
your migration from mining into what you're doing now, I think it serves as a really interesting hero's journey sort of analogy here in terms of what's possible, what we can do. So this idea. I want to just kind of circle back here a little bit. Almost 50,000 people in your community now. When you came out of mining in '04, what did you come out with? Because there was the spark of an idea, that ended up becoming Make Your Mark. What kind of how did that happen for you? And this is an entrepreneurial question because I know it wasn't easy getting launched. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Wow. I think the key thing for me was, you know, the mining industry was interesting for me. I was, I studied metallurgical engineering because my parents told me I had to,
yeah.
and so I went into that industry because it was fulfilling, I think, my parents' dreams.
Hmm.
My mom and dad, well, my dad only has a grade 10. He worked his butt off to get to to the level he got to in the corporate world. And I woke up, I think, I couldn't even say I woke up. There was just, I had a yearning inside of me, like an absolute deep yearning to do something different, and I mean, many other things happened to me during my last 18 months with the mining company. I resigned and, told the board I was, deciding to move on in 2003 of July, or July 2003. And then I eventually moved on on November 30th, 2004. And during that time, there was some of the most horrific stuff happened to me, which made the message more and more clearer. I'd been on a path that, I mean, I was at that stage, I was in, my early 30s. Life was amazing. I was in the warrior phase of my life because I believe there's three phases in your life. There's warrior, statesman, and then enlightened. I don't think many people ever get to enlightened. So the key thing for me is I knew there was a deeper piece to me. And the warrior phase was just go make money. And I found that so easy, but I was soulless. And,
Hmm.
I was like, I don't want to keep on building a business that has no soul. I was building it, we're doing things. I watched people murdered in front of me, Americans, this was like 2002, 2003, when the world was really disliking Americans. And there was anti-American. Some people even put Canadian badges on their backpacks and backpack around the world because they're too scared to be even known as American. And, I watched a bus. We're going up to we're on a mountain in Irian Jaya, going to a big gold mine, going up the hill, and the American teachers were on the bus in front of us because they always put Americans separate to everyone else. And these militants jumped on and killed all 15 of them right in front of us, mowed them down with automatic weapons. And I was like, okay, this is another sign. And I started to really search because I haven't always been on the personal growth journey. I just realized there was a yearning inside of me to do something different. And then I started studying stuff. I went to companies like Peak Potentials. I went to different places to learn. I'm now an avid student of psychology, human mindset, human potential, because I'm just fascinated by it. In fact, I believe I'm on the path to one of the biggest breakthroughs in this industry without having all the qualifications, because I'm a big believer in how things move forward. So it was such a journey for me, Blaine, that when I started Make Your Mark, I went to a spiritual coach, and he's still a very good friend of mine, multi-billionaire. And the guy runs an amazing company, but the most kindest, nicest human being you'll ever meet, like on such a great journey. And I sat down in his office one day. His name's Dave Mann. And I sat down with Dave and I said, Dave, I'd just love to know my purpose. And he said to me, Colin, there is no purpose to find. The purpose is within you. He said, you will know when you're on purpose. He said, when you have this yearning deep in your core of who you are, what you want in life, when you have that deep yearning, and when you'll know you're on purpose, when it feels like a giant metal cable, massive thick metal cable is attached, pulling you forward, that's when you know you're on purpose. Most people have a yearning, but never attach the cable. But they always wonder, what should I? And that yearning sometimes is not money. That yearning might be, let me go and, do missionary work in Central Africa or Central America or whatever it might be. So I was after my cable. I was after, how do I attach this cable? And I knew in the mining industry, there was no cable attached. It was make freaking money, make as much as you can, despite the planet. The you could still have a great culture, work with your team, do great things. But I was so focused on money making. I was in the warrior phase of my life. And I just knew there was more to life. And I knew I wanted to do more for people. I mean, I do a lot of work with underprivileged people. I do a lot of work in Africa myself personally for the native Africans. I feel sad in so many ways of what's happened to them over the years, and it's got nothing to do with what's happening in the world right now. I've been like this for 30 years, even 40 years. And I just knew there was a yearning, and I wanted to attach that cable. And you don't just go and find the cable and attach it. It sort of attaches and comes out of you and pulls you forward. And then you've got your purpose. And when you're on purpose, that's when your business thrives. And I think you asked me early on before we even started this, how do you know, what as you grow your company, sometimes does that cable maybe chopped off or get buried so deep that you don't feel like you're on purpose anymore? I think it does. I think, you got attached. You are so in line with who you are, in line with the work you're doing, so connected. And then all of a sudden you become so busy that you forget to be connected.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think the cable detaches. I think it's there, but there's so much stuff on top of it that you can't feel it pulling. Maybe there's something pulling you backwards. There's so much other stuff pulling you backwards, holding you back, that you're like, I've lost my purpose. And that happened to me in COVID.
And we'll be right back with Colin after this short commercial break. I want to thank you for listening. I want to also invite you right now to go to blainebartlett.com. And on that site, which is my personal website, you'll see services up on the top menu. I'd like you to click on Leadership Mastermind. Now, why I want you to do that is we have structured a mastermind program that is very unusual and it is very powerful. And by going onto that site and clicking that link, you'll be taken to a landing page that is an invitation to join this mastermind. It's a 52-week-long exploration of what it takes to be a highly effective leader in today's fast-changing environment. You won't regret it. And if you've been liking what you've been listening to on these Soul of Business podcasts, how does one become a leader that can keep connection to the soul of business? That's what we look at. That's what we're about in this mastermind program. So again, go to blainebartlett.com and click on the services link. And there you'll find the link to the Leadership Mastermind program. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for listening to this little commercial. And now back to our show. Yeah, it's interesting that you mention it in that way. And I love that metaphor because in my experience with businesses, and I've worked with large enterprise organizations around the world, hundreds of thousands of employees, as well as startups. And something happens in every organization I've ever encountered or been a part of. And it's where the focus shifts from that cable, if we could continue that metaphor, to the stuff of the business, the goal setting, the P&Ls, the processes, the procedures, the throughput. I mean, whatever label you want to put on it, but we start making decisions in service of the business more often and more frequently than decisions in service of keeping that cable clean so that it can do the work it's designed to do. And
the cable actually becomes hollow and becomes a pipe. That only thing that becomes important is money flow.
Yeah.
Remember, cable is made up of thousands of individual pieces of wire.
Right.
Those individual pieces of wire are amazing connection with ourselves, when that becomes hollow and the only thing is how does the money flow, all of a sudden you've got a soulless business. You know,
Yep.
it looks good from the outside. We talk about soul, we talk about purpose, whatever, but inside there's nothing. You know, the
Yeah.
pipes now become, the cables become hollow. And that's when I think we start to ask ourselves, what do I need to do to reconnect all the pieces? Doesn't mean stop the money flow, but it does mean is how do I rebuild the inside of my pipe back to a solid connection to purpose?
That kind of goes back to, being a steward of what it means and what it takes to keep that pipe full of the truly important stuff. And I'm not denigrating here in any way, shape, or form. Profit is one of the important elements. And we were talking before we started recording here about profit. A business has to have profit. I mean, yeah, and I say that for a business, everything has to generate a profit if it's going to be viable, short term and long term. Everything has to be generating a profit. I've got a pear tree out on the yard here. It needs to generate a profit, and that looks like the fruit that kind of comes out, and it's a consequence of the work that the bees did. And so profit is there, and without that profit, things begin to atrophy and die. But if that becomes the whole focus, then I've got a problem.
Completely.
Because, yeah, yeah.
But
Then I've got
a lot of the listeners have to understand that we have to profit. So if you're listening, you're going, well, yeah, we have to make money. I understand that. But at the end of the day, even some people have a real negative attachment to profit. But you think of it, every one of you sitting listening to this today, the only way you got to sit here and listen is you are the prophet of your parents. In other words, your parents had to give birth to you. You're the prophet of their relationship. Just like you're talking about the pear tree, like the maple tree gives maple syrup. That's the profit of the maple tree. So the profit of your business is money. It's okay to make money in your business. It's what you do with the money that's important. It's how you treat people. Like I love running a business with our team because I know how many people we pay every month and how much that money flows to them, to their family. I'm a big fan of Maria Nemeth, who wrote that book, Energy of Money. And it's all around how money flows, and another gentleman that I love, one of the little videos he created, I think he learned it from somebody else, is Vishen Lakhiani, where he says every time he hands his credit card over or debit card or cash over the counter to someone, he blesses that money because he knows he's going to buy that coffee, whatever it might be, but that then goes to buy coffee beans from someone in Africa who then takes the coffee beans to go buy maize meal to feed their family or whatever it is. It's like money has to flow, and that to me, the money has a soul too. It's just
absolutely. I mean, a good friend of ours, Lynn Twist, wrote a phenomenal book, The Soul of Money. Ken Honda, another good friend of ours, and this is where Vishen actually got this, was the happy money. You keep your money happy by keeping it moving.
Completely. Doesn't mean get rid of all of it, because that doesn't help.
No. But if this, I love this conversation because businesses, when they see themselves, and I know that this is what's happened with Make Your Mark, you see yourself as a center of distribution, not a center of accumulation. And there's a big distinction there. A center of distribution, things move, and it's in the movement that life is generated. It's when things start to accumulate that things start to stagnate, and when things start to stagnate, they start to putrefy. And then we've got some very interesting dynamics that aren't healthy in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. So, and I think you asked me before we came on, Blaine. You said to me, that, and many people know that I've been through a massive transformation in the last 5 or so months. And, it doesn't matter when you listen to the show, at the end of the day, when the pandemic happened for me in March, it really woke me up. I think also what happens too is there's a couple of key things that I want the listeners to walk away with from today is understanding. Number one is, yes, you can have, this cable connected to you that is this purpose of drawing you forward. But sometimes I think you also become a prisoner to your own business. Where you feel like I've got to keep running on this treadmill every single day, doing it the same way, the same old way I've always done it. And you're like, I'm making money, things are good, I'll go on vacation. But now, it's this treadmill that you just continue running on. You're like, if I stop tomorrow, the income stops or whatever. So you feel a complete prisoner to your business. And then when the situation happened in March and the global, lockdown happened, I pivoted quickly. I pivoted to 100. We had March 12th had 420 something events planned for the year. March 13th, it went to zero. So there were a few choice words that came out the evening of March 13th. But I pivoted, and within 48 hours built a complete online funnel and started promoting that online funnel. And in 5 months, or not even 5, it was around 3.5 months, we'd done over $1 million in that online funnel. And what it taught me though, one of the things, and we did the funnel, was fantastic. After 3 months, I just sat down, like, I'm back on another treadmill. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm not sure I want to do that. So I started really doing some soul searching. I sat down for the month of July and I was like, what do I really want? And I went backwards and forwards. Blaine, this has been one of the most spiritual journeys for me. I have changed so much myself in the last 10 years as I've grown. And the spiritual journey that came from it was, I understand there's this process called the chaos cycle. And one of the big parts of the chaos cycle is just stillness. So I sat in stillness for a month, for the whole month of July. I just sat there and like, what do I need to do? Like, God, I think I've lost my purpose. And I feel like my cable that's attached is great. It's going good. We're doing such good things for people, what have you. But I feel like I'm a prisoner to my own business. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's important to me? And I started to write and journal and what have you. And what I distilled it down to was, I just want the freedom to travel the world, do what I want to do, and, build a business around that, as opposed to, doing for the sake of doing. And I looked at the things I love doing. I love traveling. I love really great food. I love great wine. I'm studying to become a sommelier. And I like, well, how can I make a business around those three things? So I will never go back to live events. I've decided that. We're going to fulfill our obligations to our clients that we have and look after them, because I'm always a big fan of look after the people you have, and they'll always look after you. And we're going to transition. And by January of next year, I'll be a 100% online business. I'm going after a very specific market that I love and adore, a new passion of mine that is part of my just cause, which is a really interesting topic by itself, is the just cause. And yes. Really staying true to Gabby and I. Gabby's my wife, for those of you that are listening. And as I said, what do we both want? We both want to travel. So come January, I'm going to probably go down to Mexico, Dominican Republic, wherever it is that we're allowed to travel to at the time, and spend 3 months and keep on building the business. And we're going to become sort of traveling nomads, or travel around the world, just have fun. We adore each other, and we love spending time together. And I really became clear on that during COVID. It was one of the most spiritual journeys for me to get clear that, what I really want. And I wrote to a very good friend of mine, Blaine. I never forget this. And this was only in the last week or so. And he was writing to me. He's like, Colin, I want to retire in the Okanagan in 3 years. Well, you should come and retire with me. We're going to have some fun together. Buy some winery, or buy a winery, do whatever. I'm like, I don't want to go to I want to visit the Okanagan. Mm-hmm. I don't want to retire in the Okanagan. And why 3 years? Why can't we make it happen in 6 months?
Yeah.
And he wrote back to me. He said, that's a great question. Because I love to shake people up, and like, this is what's happening to the world right now. And I love the whole goal setting thing. So write down your goals for the next 5 years. You send people away for 3 hours. They write all their goals down. They come back. You're like, how's your goals? I'm so excited. I got all my goals for the next 5 years. I'm just going to give you some advice right now. You have 3 months to live. You are now dying. Yep. Go back and reevaluate your goals. Which ones are important now? And you will die in 3 months. And they come back, and most of them are in tears going, everything that I wanted can go out the window. What's important are the relationships I have that I need to make sure I'm whole with before I leave. Yeah. So I said, go fix those now. Why are you waiting 5 years? You might never fix them. You might get your new car, your new boat, your new house, your new winery, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, what's meaningful to all of us are the relationships we leave behind. That's a legacy. You never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. No. You can't take your stuff with you.
It's a beautiful metaphor. I love that image. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote one passage, and they'll paraphrase it, but it's basically some people will die early, some people will die later.
Mm-hmm.
All of them will leave the same thing behind, and that's the present moment. That's the one thing that everybody will leave behind is the present moment, which is the only place that we have anything. It's the only place we have anything. So if you've got a 5-year goal, why isn't it here today? I mean, what? Yeah, it's that's just a number. What? Yeah, to the point you're making here. What do you love? What is it that gets you out of bed in the morning that lights your eyes up? If that isn't kind of your North Star as a business owner, as a human being, that's an interesting question to begin to consider. Yeah, when you look in the mirror. And Colin, I mean, I want to continue this conversation, and I'm looking at my timeline here. I would like to have you come back on so we can just kind of pick this up. I mean, I love this kind of a conversation. It's inspiring to me, but I think that there's a lot more that we can really kind of take a deep dive on that I would love to explore with you.
I'd love to as well. And it's been my honor and privilege to be with you. I know we can go a lot deeper because I know the listeners out there are probably thinking, this sounds really great. This is the superficial stuff. We can definitely go deeper. When we go deeper, it'll be soul touching. I can tell you that. It's like the journey I've been on. I'd even love to just do a show with you on the journey, because that journey and process I went through has been so enlightening for me that I believe once everyone gets there, your business just thrives and the money comes anyways.
It can't not. I mean, money is just energy. It flows, and energy matches energy. So if you're alive, you're going to have alive money coming through your pipe. My guest today, Colin Sprake. Colin, how can people get a hold of you? Find out more about Make Your Mark, and and it's all online now, so they don't have to uproot themselves to go anywhere. So.
For sure. I think the key piece for me would be, honestly, just to simply just email me direct. I'm happy to answer any emails. I'll even help you. I'm all about serving. If you've got a challenge in your business, so email me at Colin S. So COLINS at MYM for Make Your Mark. So Colin S at mymsuccess.com.
All right. Beautiful. Guest today again, Colin Sprake. This is Blaine Bartlett. You've been listening to The Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. I invite you to go to my website, blainebartlett.com, and you can find out more about what I'm up to, and there are some resources there. One in particular that you might find interesting, and I do a lot of work in the leadership domain. We've got a new Mastermind program that we're working with right now, so you can find out more information about that on the website. And we've also got a new book up there, the Leadership Mindset Weekly, that has just come out. So again, thank you for listening. Colin, thank you for being here, and I look forward to having you back.
My pleasure. Thank you as well.